Growing up as your average white suburban kid, I think many of my friends and neighbors would be surprised to learn that my mother was a vampire. Now, this is the first time I've ever talked about it with anyone but her. I'm an only child, and as you might suspect, vampires are infertile. I was adopted. There were a lot of things that I never learned about her, whether she was turned just before I was born or millennia ago. The name she used, her social security number, neither were hers, but no one seemed to mind the discrepancy between her and the blonde-haired, blue-eyed lady on her driver's license. At least once a month, my mother would invite young, beautiful women over to our house. But they would only stay once while I spent the night over at friends' places. I think people around the block knew that she was a lesbian, but I don't think they could pin down her exact taste. Mom finally came out to me when I was 15. A friend of mine ate some bad sushi and her parents had to send me back home. I called my mom and she said it was fine if I walked home before the sun went down, her voice trembling slightly. When I reached the house, her friend from work was nowhere to be seen and the lights were turned off. I found my mother in the upstairs bathroom, dried blood brown and caked around her mouth, while she spewed coagulated chunks into the toilet bowl. I could see the red and blue veins running like electrical wires through her translucent skin, but the eyes she saw me with were those same sad olive that greeted me every morning. She was surprisingly light when I carried her back to her bed, as if she were only half there beneath that outer facade. I don't believe she had the strength to speak, but I didn't need to hear it to know she was sorry that I had to see her like that. I tried to just go to bed, but I was too terrified to sleep, too terrified of the woman that shared her home with me. Around 3 a.m. she appeared in my bedroom doorway, looking like her usual composed and intelligent self, waiting for me to acknowledge her presence. I brought my eyes up to her and she sat at the foot of my bed. Calm and with an even tone, she told me what she was and how she lived in no uncertain terms, never once breaking eye contact. She said that, were it my wish, she could give me a loving, ordinary family, and I would have no memory that she was ever a part of my life. I was crying when she said that. She bowed her head to her lap to let me make my own decision. Pushing away my duvet, I hugged her with all the might of my heart. I told my mother that I never wanted to forget her and that she always would be my mom. Now, 10 years later, I don't regret what I said that night. My mother was the kindest and strongest person I ever met, and I cried like any daughter when I heard that she had been murdered. Unlike other daughters, however, I have no casket to mourn over, no grave plot to visit, not even ashes to spread over her garden. Everyone I speak to thinks I grew up in a Methodist household with 5 siblings, and they balk at the idea that I was an adoptee. I still remember the way she'd comb her fingers through her raven hair whenever she was on the phone. I still remember the cold chill on my neck when she would come and kiss me goodnight. I still remember the Jehovah's Witness that showed up on our doorstep 1 week ago, cheerfully prompting my mother over whether she had heard the good news. My mother gave me many things, but I did not inherit her mercy.